From deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast. Brought to you by Texas Fish and Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, Dustin Vaughn Warnke, associate publisher, contributing editor, podcast host, hotspots editor for the fishing reports for the freshwater lakes, and I wear a lot of hats around here, but man, do I have fun doing this show. This is therapeutic for me to turn on this microphone and speak into it every 2 weeks, and for you guys to listen. It just makes my socks go up and down. It just absolutely makes my day that you guys listen to this stuff, and I just love creating media. I love creating anything, articles and blogs and podcasts and videos and all that stuff. And if you stayed tuned to my YouTube channel here lately, I've been putting out, obviously every one of these podcasts goes out live on there. Not live, but I mean as we release them, they go on there as YouTube releases. And somebody left me a comment this week that I'm recording this bumper for this episode. And it was earlier this week, and it was one of the last shows that I posted, actually the last show that I posted on the series of this show, and that was the iCast Live at iCast 2019 with Chester and Cal. He said, and I won't mention names here or whatever, but his channel's a music channel, and he said, everything you post is fire. You know, and that just made my day. I mean, I posted a screen cap of that on my Facebook page, and a lot of people commented on it, you know. But just that he thought that everything I post is fire as far as my video and podcast content on the YouTube channel. And that I love it. So thank you guys so much for your support, and for listening, and for reading our stuff, for watching our videos, for listening to these podcasts. And go back, because every time we release one of these podcasts, the title of the podcast is the subject matter of the podcast. I try to do a hunting and fishing show every other show. So basically one show do hunting, one show do fishing, and then alternate those every other show. And, just have a lot of fun doing this. And the guest that I have for you today is a new guest to the Best of the Outdoors family, Mike Wilson, Dr. Mike Wilson, medical doctor as well as a deer breeder. And we're going to talk about deer biology. We're going to talk a little bit about hunting deer, hunting exotics, the kind of stuff that he has through Wilson Wildlife, which is his company and farm, or I guess is, for lack of a better word, deer farm that he has for raising whitetail, and just really something different for you this summer, because we're entering deer season here in the next couple of months. A lot of us are already getting everything ready for that. I know I am. I'm getting my stuff all restocked and sharpened and ready to go, and I'm just having a lot of fun in the outdoors. And I wanted to bring somebody that was different on this show. You don't run into too many medical doctors that happen to be deer breeders as well. So Dr. Mike is just a great guy. I love the conversation we have together. We have a blast on the show, and I think you're really going to enjoy it and what we have to offer to you today. So before I get into that, please, if you've not done so already, subscribe to this podcast. You get a free new show every 2 weeks. You don't have to pay anything for this. Sponsors pay for this, okay? So you get a free new show. You get me talking into a microphone every 2 weeks. And we've been doing this for 4 years now, guys, and continuously for 3. But we've had the podcast up and going for 4 years now. I just stuck with it, man. A lot of podcasts come and go. There are a lot of outdoor podcasts you may have listened to that don't exist anymore. I'm still here, okay? And I enjoy what I do. I enjoy bringing you something new and something fresh every week. And I just try my best to sing the Outdoor Nation praises, for the Texas Outdoor Nation and beyond, and just really have a lot of fun doing this show. So whether you're in Texas or outside of Texas, this show's for you. Whether you're in the United States or outside of the United States, this show's for you. Our whole goal is to educate, motivate, inspire, give all the good stuff that has to do with the outdoors, and put it on your heart to go and have the best of the outdoors. That's a whole point of this show. So anyway, and it's late here, so I apologize. I'm a little punchy as far as it's late when I'm recording these bumpers, but I do my best thinking at night, so that's why I record these at night. But anyway, we've got some really, really cool stuff coming up with what the Best of the Outdoors podcast is doing. You can subscribe free on Podbean, get the app on your phone. That's free. You can download a new show every 2 weeks that way. Joe Rogan and a bunch of other guys have their podcasts on here. A bunch of other hunting podcasts are on Podbean as well, which is where this is hosted. And then there's also our newsletters. You get our new podcast every 2 weeks on our newsletters. Fishgame.com to subscribe to those. I'll talk about that at the end of the show. And lots of good stuff going on here, just rocking and rolling. I've got an article coming out in the August issue, which will actually be the first of the month when this releases. And you can check that out, the 10 things to look for to avoid heat stress and heat stroke. Really, really good information. Might help save your life or somebody's life that you love in your life, and something to check out there, and a lot of good things going on here. So thank you guys so much for helping us get the old Texas Fishing Game battleship down the highway another month, another year, and for all your support and reading our stuff and watching our stuff and listening to our stuff. It just means the world to us, and we love you guys very, very much. All right. So wilson-wildlife.com. That's wilson-wildlife.com. Easy to remember. Website for Mike Wilson, Dr. Mike Wilson, the guy that I've got on this show here. Dr. Mike has got a lot of good information to share with us today, and I am so excited to bring a new guest on the show. It just makes my day to have Dr. Mike join us, and just really fun time, great outdoors talk. Whether you're listening to this in the stand hunting exotics or hogs, or out on the boat fishing, or at the gym working out, or walking your dog. I mean, whatever. The cool thing about podcasts is you can listen to them anytime. They're passive listening. Just really want to thank you guys so much for doing so. All right, here we go. Dr. Mike Wilson. Joining me on the phone, Dr. Mike Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Do you go by Dr. Mike or Dr. Wilson or Mike Wilson or anyway?
Mike, yeah.
Mike, not Michael.
Okay.
Just
call me Mike. Good enough. I answer anything.
That's cool. Well, it's such the thing that I noticed about you when I first ran into you, and I ran into you. I'll just be honest with this. I ran into you when we met each other across one of these groups that we're both a part of. Where right. One of my things that I do is sell exotic deer, and you were interested in buying some deer at some point from me, and I just kind of got to know you, and I'm like, it's kind of cool. There's a medical doctor, is an emergency room doctor that does deer business and does them both what I think very well, and I thought it was kind of cool, man.
It is. The deer business has been somewhat of a release for me, and kind of stumbled onto it by accident, and so certainly was glad that I did.
That's great.
It's certainly very, very helpful to us.
No, that's great. I mean, so tell us a little bit about how you got started in the outdoor world with your deer farm situation, and your basic backstory, Mike.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So I've lived here in Tyler on this property that we're on for about 8 years or so, and we're on about 15, 16 acres here, and the vast majority of it was just kind of heavily wooded, kind of past the backyard here for all these years, and I hadn't done a whole lot with it. Went through like a bit of a crisis personally. We went through a divorce, and ended up staying in my home here, and then I remarried, and my new wife has a love for the outdoors, a love for hunting that I had not previously experienced in my life. And so I've been a hunter for many, many years, and my animal is a whitetail deer. I mean, I've hunted a lot of different animals, but nothing gets me fired up like a whitetail. I don't know why, but that's just the way that it is. And
You're not alone.
I started out just wanting to have, some whitetail walking around the backyard, like, hey, this would be cool, the high fence, whatever's left back there. So let me look into that. And so I started researching that, and I had the biologist come out and do the survey for a release site. And I just got stalking. He's like, have you ever thought about, kind of taking this to a different level instead of just being a release site, being a deer breeder? Well, what is that? What's that cost? Is that a different survey? Is that, it costs the same to get the permit from the state and everything. Oh, goodness. Well, sure, let's do that.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So I thought that, hey, that'd be cool. And so I kind of got all started the paperwork wise, and went in and told my wife, and she about passed out. She had no idea what you're getting into, and she was right. But that was 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago or so, and here we are, and it has been, like anybody who's in the business, lots of ups and downs, but we have really, really enjoyed it. And so it just has taken me personally to like the next step of my relationship with whitetail deer.
Sure.
And, from a medical standpoint, it's been a lot of fun understanding about, chemistry and the physiology and the health issues related to whitetail deer, both in a macrocosm and a microcosm, my own backyard, so to speak, and then as it relates to the Texas as a state. And so that's been a lot of fun too.
Oh, that's great. I mean, what a story, and just what a backstory as well, as far as getting started in something like that. Because we often, a lot of times in Texas especially, where there's a lot of deer breeders all over that basically, have different names for their deer and all that other stuff, we think it's just some really rich guy that's at the top of the food chain and that, just does all this for fun and that kind of stuff. You're a really down-to-earth guy, even though you're an emergency room doctor. It's kind of like me selling deer and working for the magazine. I do both, and you do both, medicine
right.
and working in the deer business, and it's just kind of cool, to relate to somebody that's down to earth about all this stuff. A lot of deer breeders you meet that aren't. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Like everything we do here, we pretty much have to do it by hand. We build our own, we do our own fencing, and so. As when you get started in the deer business, it's not going to be profitable for a good while, and
right.
So we are, we just do as we can. We build new pens as we can, buy new deer as we can, and just kind of building it from the ground up, which, some days can be frustrating, but at other times it's a sense of pride to kind of look out and see what you did.
Sure. And the goal, of course, in deer breeding is to grow quality trophy deer for the most part, correct?
Yeah, that's a question I get asked a lot, especially by folks who don't understand the business.
Right.
Right.
I'm just asking this for my listeners, not necessarily for me. I know what the answer is, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I know you certainly do. I think the goals should be. This is as you know, in our industry, people do have slightly different goals. My goal personally is not to grow the biggest, baddest deer. There are health issues that come up with just doing that. Now, I'm not saying that anybody who does do that has got a bad way of doing it, but our clients are going to be the clients that are looking for just a beautiful Texas style deer that, yes, absolutely has an amazing looking set of antlers, but also has been bred with genes that have a history of some longevity,
right.
Maybe have a stronger genetic resistance to some of the harsher climates in Texas, because I don't want deer that are going to live for 2-3 years necessarily. Some of our clients are buying deer that they want to continue to spread those genetics on whatever the property is for years to come.
No, that's good. So, that's really good. I think that's a right way to look at it.
Thing.
Yeah, no, I think the twofold thing is a good idea. And the thing is, I mean, looking back at all the years that I've been in the deer business and working with people that are doing exotics and that kind of stuff, I mean, you learn so much about the biology and about how to hunt them and stuff when you raise them. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't help but learn about it.
Right.
And I will tell you from the scientist part in me, the physician part, there's been a level of frustration because it's been surprising to me how it can be such a big business and you can't go find a whole lot of information about it.
Right.
And quote, experts, you may get 3 different opinions from 3 different experts. It's not knocking those folks. It's just something that hasn't been explored nearly as much, of course, as human biology, physiology, medication-wise, pharmacology, all this different stuff. And so you've seen it on the forums, somebody will throw out a picture or a set of symptoms and you'll get 30, 40 different responses, and they could literally be all different. So
that's right.
That's one level of frustration that we are trying to slowly drill into using really scientific measures as we can: blood work, X-rays, really diagnostic tools, ultrasound. I just purchased an ultrasound the other day.
Wow.
And I do a lot of ultrasound in my clinical practice, and so we're going to be doing that with our deer. But really trying to make solid diagnoses instead of just like, oh, somebody's looks sick, start slinging some darts, throw some of this at him, and see if it makes you feel better.
See if it helps. Yeah, and the one exactly the one thing I was thinking about. I've watched a bunch of your Facebook lives. I even watched the one that you did a couple of days ago on the new game cams that you're gonna be carrying on your website, right?
Oh yeah.
So I do keep up with you, and I'm just fascinated by the way you work and the way you do a hospital shift, and then you go over here and do deer, and then like you lost your voice the other day when you were working at the hospital on 2 12-hour shifts, and you're like having the speech to text thing. It was just kind of funny. So it's like that's a guy that does a Renaissance man.
It's terrible. You can't talk to people. Literally, like that was the worst laryngitis I've ever had, and so that was a tough thing to do. But it is fun though. It is fun making the transition. I get to walk out of the ER and then come home and see my deer.
Sure.
I try to do like even if I haven't been here for the day, I try to walk my pins personally. In the evenings, if nothing else, just to kind of have that connection myself, because it is kind of a stress relief. I've got a great set of interns that manage the day-to-day runnings of things and keep the feed moving and keep their eyes open for sick deer. But I still try to really have my hand in it every day.
That's cool. And the thing I like about the genetics that you're raising, there's so many breeders that get into like raising these freak deer and with like the palmated antlers and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm just kind of like, that's just not for me, but I mean, it's for a lot of people, and I get that, but I've never been about the uber trophy. It's just about give me a good, solid genetic buck, that looks, got some drop time, got some stickers, whatever. But I mean, I just think that's important, compared to just give me this freak that's a 300-inch deer. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's a great point, and I think there's a lot of hunters out there that are that way. I don't know, man. I've probably got 30 or more whitetail deer mounts hanging in my home in various places. I mean, I've got 7 children. I've got a wife who hunts. Like we've got our top 3 are all hunters, so we got lots. Our taxidermy bills are huge. But my point is, until I started in the deer business, I never once put a tape on a deer. Never once.
Okay.
I knew how to do it. And a couple leases where I worked, the ranch manager, where I hunted, the ranch manager required that they measure the deer when you were done, but I've never cared. I look at the characteristics of the deer. I can, especially now being in the business, I can look at a deer and say, man, it's, roughly whatever, 140 or 200 or whatever, but I didn't care. But there's a story behind every one of them. Out of the 30, say there's 30, I can stand there in front of you and tell you what child was listening, where we were when we shot it, what the approach was. Did it come in from behind us? I mean, like, those are the reasons why we hunt. Those are the reasons why we, that's kind of the mission of Wilson Wildlife, is to give other people in life those experiences. And again, some people literally are all about the tape measure, and that's fine. It's just that's not what we do.
Right. No, I think that's the right approach to it and everything. So, I mean, tell me as far as what you feed to grow, I don't want to say trophy deer, but just grow decent sized whitetails in low fence or high fence. Because there's a big debate out there about high fence and low fence hunting. There's some groups on Facebook that are just for low fence. I get that. But I mean, as far as what do you do to produce, nice deer?
Sure. No, that's a great question. So I don't think it's fair to the end consumer for you to artificially, in any way, shape, or form, inflate what's in your deer pens.
Okay.
So that's just my take. I know that there is some of that goes on out in the industry, and that's for those folks. But the end consumer, who is in general going to be, I think, most deer breeders, a customer, bread and butter customer, I think they should get what they pay for. And so we do structure our feeding program based, kind of straddle the fence a little bit, because in order to be a good deer breeder, you have to alter things, I think, a little bit, because, when, the mamas are fawning and nursing, we try to add, some additional fat and protein to their diet, just so that they can do the best job that they can do to keep those fawns healthy and keep themselves healthy. Again, we're not adding anything artificial, but we'll add, sources of fat or protein, depending on what the time of year it is or something like that, to try and help those mamas stay healthy. We'll do the same thing for the bucks, true and post rut. And a lot of people do this even in their low fence herds. They'll feed them a higher fat content to try and help the health of the deer, because as you know, and you may want to get into this a little bit later, I mean, like the antler growth really is based on the body health first.
Right.
And so we really want to try and keep that body health up. And so when a buck will lose, 30 to 50 pounds sometimes, depending on how it started, after just chasing,
Yeah, chasing deer, right? Chasing does. Sure.
So we try hard for there to be as close as possible. And plus we use browse, we use hay, those sorts of things. But you don't do anybody any good to take a deer that's just been completely, fed something that they will not get out in the wild, and then turn them loose, and then they get sick and die.
Right.
And so you got to keep that into account.
So body health being the most important thing before you get, big antlers. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know.
That is enormous, and I think so many people don't understand that. Maybe even in and out of the deer industry, you've got to absolutely devote all your energy into the health of the deer first.
So
they will not produce those antlers that everybody's looking for without their body being healthy first.
So as a physician, you say that's deer wellness. Would that be right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's right.
That's
right. Good exercise program, balanced diet, plenty of sleep.
Plenty of sleep, all that stuff.
Absolutely, right. Absolutely. Vitamins, minerals, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, no, that's good. Do you believe a lot in these? I know protein obviously is important for antler growth and that kind of stuff, but I mean, how about these trophy rocks and that kind of stuff that's out there? Minerals and stuff like that.
That's tough. I think minerals in general, yes, are important. Now, I'll be the first to say that, though I'm a physician, I'm not a veterinarian, but I do know minerals, as far as bone deposition, when you've got, calcium and supplements and all that sort of stuff for any mammal, I think is going to be very similar. And so, yes, if you can increase the available minerals to the animal, and I don't mean like by sneaking it in or force feeding it, but we approach everything from kind of like a Christian standpoint.
Sure.
So good Lord, put it within their bodies that they are in need of something. They've got a desire to go and seek that out. And so we have extra mineral sources available to them. We have mineral additives you can put in their water. Electrolytes are a big deal this time of year, which is their prime growing season for antlers, but it's also one of the most stressful in Texas because of the heat.
Right.
And so you keep their sodium, potassium, and chloride levels all balanced as well. Then that helps with your mineral deposition or the mineral deposits that you're really wanting to be devoted to antler growth. Keeps them available and ready to go.
Right.
As you know, one of the worst things that can happen to an animal or a deer just before or during your antler growing season is a fracture of any kind, even a small one.
Okay.
Because the cells that are responsible for bone repair are going to start diverting the calcium, for example, which is really the major building block for bone repair, to fixing that fracture.
Okay.
So even if they broke like a foot or a toe, that can really have a profound effect on what their antler growth
Really?
looks like.
Okay, so if they're injured in any way, any part of their body, not just their horns, if they're in velvet, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so you don't get that diverts the calcium deposits away from the antlers into the site of the injury until the body gets the signal that everything's done here.
Right.
We can go back to putting
antlers.
the excess up there on the head.
Okay, that's cool. No, this is fascinating stuff for us to learn because, like I say, some of this I know already, but a lot of it I just think is you're taking a holistic approach to how deer, and I mean this because I've never been a big trophy guy, but I mean, I'm really big about how to grow deer in a low fence situation and a high fence situation, quality deer that you want to come back to and that you can breed well and that kind of stuff. So I don't want people to misunderstand my talk on this because I never have been about, it's all about the trophy, but it's about, in some cases we can help, even in a low fence scenario, grow, quality deer. I just did an article that I edited in the Lone Star Bow Hunters Association. He talked a whole lot about water. It just
Right.
it's not all about just the minerals and the protein. Just have a good water source there to keep that deer healthy. And I mean, that's kind of what you're alluding to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this time of year especially, if you've seen, and I'm, maybe a shameless plug, but you've seen one of the products I push a lot right now,
Yes.
something called the Guzzler.
Yeah, the
and I'm
Guzzler.
seeing more, and I throw that out because I'm seeing more videos of other folks, other deer people, who more and more are putting water sources right in their feed pens, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. I think having the food and water there for the deer is a great approach, no matter if you use my product or something else. But I, being what I'm in my mid 40s here, and I've hunted since I was early teens. For years, everybody just talked about, for decades, feeders, corn feeders. Just put your feed out, and
right.
And that market has been saturated. And I don't know that anybody ever, still here in some recent years has really started saying, "Hey, let's get some water out there for them."
Yeah, and that's
right now, because it's so blasted hot. So that's an important component. You're absolutely right.
That's why I wanted to bring that up and get that out of you, because I knew that would be something that you recommended, because I didn't realize until I started listening to a lot of podcasts about, deer growth and antlers and how quality deer grow and then healthy deer grow, that they need a good water source. And what we have on the place that I hunt on a low fence area that backs up to a cemetery, so I call it the cemetery stand in my part of Texas. And basically it's a low fence, and what I do is we have a donkey on that property, and we've got a water trough for him, and then we kind of co-do that for the purpose that for the deer as well. And then I run a little bit of protein and some corn, and run a game camera out there with the cellular function, like you were talking about on your Facebook Live, where I can basically see real time what's coming in, what time they're coming in, and get the hogs out of there and all that other stuff. But I mean, I think that's great. I mean, I honor you for bringing that up, because I think that's something a lot of hunters look over, is even if you bring water in, like the RotoGuz that you sell, Dr. Mike, one of those things that, basically helps the overall health of the population, because they have an ample water source. And then you have a rain collection system as well with that RotoGuz. And I know that's not a cheap piece of equipment to buy, but I mean, it can last you forever, or for as long as you're alive, because it's built to stay in one place, and and it's rotomolded, and it's just built tough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The part that I think is the coolest, of course, is the rain collection feature. It's a naturally renewable source of water collection. Now, in the absolute dead of summer, and and I'll say this, we've got some down on the ranch that I hunt in Junction, a property that we own down there. Mid-August, 2 years ago, was the first time we had one run dry where we weren't having to actually, like the first time we actually had to artificially go out and put some in.
Sure.
It collects a lot of water. And so having the naturally renewable source of water where you're not having to haul it out there all the time, it's though it is made of plastic, somebody could make an argument that that's not great for, the environment, but it is, like you said, it will last an absolute lifetime, and it does collect the water for you, and therefore using the rain for the animals right off the bat. And so it's good for them, it's good for you. You don't have to haul it out there to serve your site, carrying water and that kind of thing. Plus we've started adding minerals to the water source as well, and electrolytes. So as probably in your deer business, I mean, you can put electrolytes in your water, like Gatorade for the deer.
Right.
And so we do both in the RotoGuz.
That's cool. That's really cool. So if you want to look at what a RotoGuz looks like, you can go to the Wilson Wildlife Facebook page, right, or the Facebook group. I forget which you've got. Okay.
Yeah. They're both. So there's actually a RotoGuz Facebook page as well, and then the Wilson Wildlife Facebook page as well. Wilson-wildlife.com is our website there, so you can get it anywhere to look at it and read about it. And I'll say that I would love to sell the product, but truly, if you don't have some sort of source of water, that's key these days.
Sure.
I don't care. There's a gazillion different kinds of corn out there. I don't care what kind of corn you put out, what kind of attractants you use. Every animal on the planet needs water, and they know how to find it. You want to attract animals to your hunting spot, put some water out there. You want to take care of your deer this time of year, put some water out.
Yeah, that's good. And I think it's so important to say, Dr. Mike, and I'm glad you said that, because that rings home to what I try to do as a hunter is the care for that wildlife, not just to go hunt it, but also for the existence of that species in that area in the future. I mean, just the conservation element of it, you know what I'm saying, is important as well.
So true. That's where we really get derailed with some of our anti-hunter counterparts, that people just think we're slaughtering animals out there, and it's just so not the case. We really need to, we have a stewardship that we need to take care of, so to speak.
And that's a spiritual thing too. I mean, God gave us this property, this land, this lease, this ranch to take care of and be a good steward over it. And I mean, I just, not to get too spiritual, but basically, just talking about the things that we're entrusted with in our lives, we need to take care of. And that one of those things is the whitetail deer population in Texas, So I just wanted to throw that out there too. And if you want to see more deer, feed and water right, and I mean, that's just part of the plan too. And that's something that I try to, I'm trying to do in this new area that I'm hunting this year, is just trying to increase. And I'm using, actually, I don't know if you've heard of this, Dr. Mike, I'm using a scent this year, and I'm not doing a plug or anything for them, because I just got this and I'm just starting to use it, but it's a synthetic scent by a company called Buck Fever, and they're big in Michigan. They're really big in Michigan. And they're basically a synthetic scent that does not spoil. So you have something like, a spray, a fake, like a synthetic rub, or, what am I trying to say? A scrape, a rub, doe and heat, that kind of stuff. They're all synthetic scents. They don't smell like anything, but the deer can smell them. And basically, it's just interesting to try something like this, because I've always been a big, Tink 69 kind of guy, but the thing is, with that being organic, it also can decompose,
Sure, absolutely. And anybody who's ever accidentally left a bottle of that in their blind over a summer, and then went and opened it up at the first of the hunting season, wish they hadn't. So you're absolutely right. That'd be really interesting to try. Getting that stuff. I'm no expert in that, but I can imagine getting the real stuff is quite a process anyway.
Yeah, it is for sure.
And labor intensive, stressful on animals.
Right.
But if you could create a product that really works well, that's synthetic, I think more power to you. That would be a great product to have.
It doesn't spoil or anything. And the thing that I'm interested in, like, I sprayed some on a tree by where my feeder is, and I've just got a hanging feeder in this one little area that I hunt by the cemetery, and basically I had rubs on the tree within 2 weeks of decent sized deer, basically. And what they're doing is, when it rains, it reactivates it. And it's just kind of interesting. I'm just playing with it right now, just to kind of see what brings it in, because when it rains, that scent gets reactivated, and that's how it's reactivated, is by water. And so it lasts a lot longer than traditional organic scents. So I'm just playing with it. I just thought I'd mention it to you on the show, and just let you know it's something I'm projecting with. So.
That's a cool sounding product. How often do you have to reapply, or do you know?
No, I mean, I'm not 100% an expert on it yet as far as that goes, but I mean, I know that during deer season they've got a really pre and post, scrape, and then they've got a doe and heat, and then they've got a forehead gland. And I learned about forehead glands a while back, because that's the way deer communicate with each other a lot of times, is through the forehead gland, from what I understand, right?
I've heard that myself.
I know. No, it is interesting. I mean, there's so much. Like, for instance, I when I started bow hunting for deer, I was at the time, he was my insurance agent. Now he's gone on to be a field producer for a really big hunting TV show on I think the Outdoor Channel, or Pursuit, or Sportsman's. I'm not sure which one, but anyway, he's a good dude. But he taught me how to bow hunt, and he basically did a blood tracking dog service. And what he did was, he believed, and this was still a theory, and I'm not sure 100% on this, but he had a Bavarian mountain hound. And basically, he believed that the theory was true, that the deer, when they are running off after a shot, emit like a hormone out of their feet. And that's how his Bavarian mountain hound could pick it. As long as that deer did not go through the water, he could pick up that scent on its feet that it emitted when it was shot. So it's more interesting stuff, that's more theory than but I've just always been fascinated with that, because a deer has so many different receptors, and their nose is, so much more sensitive than our nose, and they smell things that we can't smell, but that's how they communicate, the way we can't communicate. But whitetail's just a fascinating creature, isn't it?
Man, it is, and it is hard to separate truth from fiction, like you're talking about. As you were talking about that, I was thinking about the more I have gotten into this and the more I've hunted, the less I think I know. You hear all these things growing up. Oh, the deer, they caught your scent and they took off, and I have shot deer, frankly, right after I had, a kid just had to get out of the blind and pee right there at the bottom of the blind, or, with the wind blowing in the wrong direction, or pouring down rain, or the wind blowing on just 90 miles an hour. The deer aren't going to come out when it's raining, and who knows, man?
Some of that stuff's still speculation, but there's so much we don't know. But you're right. The more that we do it, there's a lot of times we don't know what we thought we knew. So yeah, it's so true. But still, it's such a fascinating creature. It's my favorite. I mean, I got a good number of species under my belt, and man, I love hunting whitetail. It's awesome. Yeah, they're very rare species, and another one that as far as something I've been trying here lately is, and I talked about this on a previous show, in live sale I end up with some of the meat from the exotics, and I've been eating axis here lately. And then I just want to talk about exotics for a minute. But basically, my friend that owns the live sale business has nilgai in the freezer, and so Texas, besides being an awesome whitetail destination, obviously tons of exotics that you can hunt year round. I mean, this time I'm selling loads after loads of axis deer to ranches that are stocking their ranch and doing doing more stuff with that as far as getting people to come hunt. And I explained it to a guy from Kentucky the other day that called me on some graphic design work the other day. And he said it's kind of odd the way the exotic business works, because you basically all do this on the underground on Facebook or elsewhere, wherever. And and then we all network and stuff like that there. We buy and sell and trade and do stuff like that. And then nobody wants to know where the animals are coming from, because you don't want to, let the hunter know that you bought this animal in just for them. I guess is the best way to say it.
Right. Right. Yeah. There's like anything else, there's tons of controversy, tons of opinions out there. But I think as a guy who's done a lot of exotic hunting in Texas, emphasizing the benefits, when you look at it at a 10,000 foot level of exotic hunting is where the meat and potatoes are, You're never going to please the guys who get fired up about, well, if you really wanted to hunt that nilgai, why didn't you go to, wherever they came from,
Africa or whatever,
over in Iran, hunting, ibex or wherever, and so, there's a gazillion reasons why. I think the biggest, often for most hunters, is going to be cost. But how many species? I don't know the answer, but I know it's a true statement. But how many species of exotic animals do we hunt in Texas that are on the endangered list in their native land?
Yes, axis, black buck. Just to name a few. Oryx. I believe oryx. I know for sure there's more oryx here in Texas than there are in Little Native. And you remember the big debate that was going on? You were around when this was happening, I'm pretty sure, in the exotic world, when it was Dama gazelle, it was addax, and it was oryx, scimitar horn oryx, that were on the endangered list. And then Ted Nugent and a bunch of other people kind of started a movement to get them off, and basically made the point to the government, the governing bodies that basically were making that law about making them endangered, is that because of hunting, we have more of them than we've ever had. And they're not an endangered species as long as they have a value. And that's a big point I make about every time on the show about Africa. If there is no value, there is no animal. If it pays, it stays, kind of thing. That I heard on another show the other day. And basically, it's to the prolification, I guess is the right word, of that species to survive and thrive is because of hunting, and the anti-hunters don't get that a lot of times. But I think it needs to be even said within our own community that listens to the show, for instance, that, that's important.
Mm-hmm. No, it is. And even other people who don't, they don't even live in the great state of Texas,
Right.
just don't quite get the exotic thing. But I mean, we do. There is a humongous conservation piece, and I know anti-hunters don't want to hear that. And yes, again, on the micro level, when I go out and shoot an oryx, well, it wasn't conservation for that animal. Absolutely, that animal gave up its life.
Sure.
For my sport. I don't hide that. I don't try and say that that's not the case. I think we lose credibility when we try to dodge literally that bullet, right? Okay,
Sure.
We hunt for sport. We hunt for food. But I think most of us really, a lot of folks hunt for sport, okay? I mean, there are some folks out there that, yes, literally feed their family off of what they hunt.
With the deer they kill. Yeah,
they
exactly.
may starve to death.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But what's that?
I said, no, you're right. You're right about that for sure. I was increasing your point there. Yeah.
So I think we gain credibility if we own that, and so, because we're never going to win people over, by getting them to think, oh yeah, that is a great sport. So that cow's out of the barn to begin with. But, understanding that, yes, that one animal, was hunted, on a high fenced ranch somewhere of whatever, 10,000 acres or something, but that ranch's mission there, they've got 200 oryx, all right, and they don't hunt the oryx that are whatever a good mature oryx, and I don't know good. I've picked on oryx for some reason, but whatever a mature oryx age is, they let them grow to maturity, they feed them good feed, they let them breed, and then they're harvested, yes, for sport and yes, for food. But that's not how it's done out in nature. You harvested, how many animal species intentionally kill the young in order to send the mother into heat so that they can just breed?
That's a good point.
How many species are poached severely in their native lands?
Right.
So hunting, yes, as an industry, that's where one of the parts where the conservation comes in. The anti-hunters want to focus on the fact that, yes, we kill animals. Well,
right.
That is a fact. We can't deny that.
Yeah. But nature kills animals. The thing that I argue with about that is the fact, like you were talking about, killing the young to get so the female goes into heat. I mean, the thing is, nature is the cruelest of them all. I mean, if you've ever seen on National Geographic, on one of those shows, see a lion, grab a gazelle and just tear it apart, limb by limb, basically while it's still alive. I mean, that's pretty gory, but I mean that exists because that's just the way what is, that's just the way nature works.
Yep.
And I mean, so I think what the hunting community has done, now the thing that it kills me about the hunting community, as much as I love that we've done a lot for conservation and the proliferation of the species and stuff like that, the thing I don't like is the fact that we can't all get along. And I understand we're going to have some issues, but you have people that are anti-high fence and pro-high fence. You have people that are, without high fences, we wouldn't have the exotic population, especially the axis population we do in Texas. That has been its own prolific thing. But I mean, the thing is, I wrote an article, I talked about this a couple of times on the show, the Lone Star Bowhunters Association magazine. And if anybody wants a copy of that magazine, you can drop me a line, dustinsprojects.com, through my website. I'll send you a copy for free, dustinsprojects.com. But basically, I wrote on there, it all matters. The people that shoot traditional bows don't necessarily need to make fun of the people that shoot compound bows, seeing that they're hunting with training wheels. And the people that hunt with compound bows don't need to make fun of the people that are hunting with crossbows and that kind of stuff. It's just like there's that division within our community that kind of ruins the sport in a lot of ways, because I'm just like, you need to unite for the common goal,
That's a great point, and we see it every day on our own, on our own forums.
Right.
And I don't understand, because in the end, everybody does fight the good fight vehemently for hunting. And so just by the same token that we want to be respected by the anti-hunters, why we cannot ask the same of each other is kind of beyond me.
Yeah.
I posted the other day on one of our forums, what was it? Oh, it's a 1,000-pound road feeder. You pull it behind an ATV or a truck or something like that, and just put it up there. Hey, I got one. Anybody wants it? Let me know.
Right.
And a couple of knuckleheads jumped on there and like, oh, Well, we don't need corn on our roads where we hunt. It's called free chase. You might look into it or something like that. I mean, just
smart.
I don't know who these people are. I've never so much as met them.
Right.
Like they just, without provocation, jumped in to start a fight, and that is it's self-destructive for the whole process. You know,
it is.
And so ethics. There are ethical issues. There are legal issues, and I think if you are ethical and you're legal, then we should take care of one another. And there's enough things to fight about in the world. You know, we need a little peace.
Sure. No, I know. Can't we all get along? You know, like the old Ronnie King thing.
Right,
so
right.
I kind of just always allude back to that.
Sure.
Can't we all get along? I wanted to talk a little bit about Wilson Wildlife Gear, which you have your own website. You ship, I believe, nationwide, and a lot of the smaller items, correct?
Yeah, so we ship anything that we can put on a UPS truck. We will certainly ship nationwide.
Okay, cool.
And then a lot of our bigger items, we have found that we're getting kind of big enough to where we kind of have routes. Like if you don't have to have it tomorrow, I know I'm going to have a truck going through Central Texas in the next week or two.
Sure.
So you want to buy 2 or 3 feeders from me? I'll ship them down there to you free of charge.
Oh, cool.
And so we batch all of our orders that way. And I always try and put in our ads, we ship for free within the state of Texas. But really it'd be, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, a lot of that too. And so from the gear business side, my big thing is, and it sounds kind of cliche, but it's customer service.
Sure.
I'm so fed up with going to places to spend a lot of money and nobody really cares.
Yeah.
Buy it or don't, or they don't know about the product. So many places that sell all seasons feeders or Texas Wildlife Supply feeders or whatever, or the Guzzler or whatever. I mean, they're the Ace Hardware that sells plumbing parts and electrical parts, and they sell, furniture dollies and everything else. So This is my thing. This is what we do.
Okay.
All right. They may know something about it. They may not know something about the product. They may know nothing about the product.
Right.
So they sit them out there in front of their little grocery store or whatever, buy them or don't. I try and do, not podcasts, but videos or something to try and
Facebook Lives and stuff
understand
like that.
the different types of feeders, the different, things to look for in a feeder. Buy from me or don't, but certainly be educated when you do it. And so I think customer service is a big part of it. Education is a big part of it. And so we certainly want to try and take care of our customers. It's a big deal to me because it's a bone I like to pick with other companies.
Sure.
You buy a car. I mean, you spend a lot of money, and people don't give a hoot.
Yeah, you're just a number in a lot of cases. And I mean, it's nice to go. It's nice to go somewhere where you're cared for. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I mean, that already makes me feel good. That y'all care that much.
Right.
And you've got anything from All Seasons Feeders, Texas Wildlife Supply Feeders. You've got parts, accessories, hog lights. You've got hog hunting lights, barbecue, backyard stuff. There's just a ton of stuff on here. Laser engravings of some of your deer, and the swag shop, and then you've got some Athlon optics and some other stuff here, survival gear and that kind of stuff. I think it's a great, well-rounded, store. I mean, for the most part, as far as catering to the hunter and the outdoorsman, for sure.
Well, certainly appreciate that. We're slowly, we have the structure up. We're going to have an in-person store here for too long.
Oh, cool.
Building, and we're, so it'll be here in Tyler for those that want to come by. And so that's just up until now, just exclusively online. But people do come by. It's amazing. People come by. Well, we sell double down deer feed, and so we keep tons of the deer feed here as well. And so folks in East Texas will come pick it up here and then come and see the deer and that sort of thing. And so that's one thing I would like to, tell you and your listeners is so much of this is about education.
Yes.
People are welcome to come to Wilson Wildlife and come take a baby deer. I mean, it will change your entire perspective of the business, I think.
Sure.
Especially if you got questions about it. We love to educate folks, and we love to give them an experience. How often before you kind of get into the business, I mean, how many people in the world do you think get to hold a baby deer or give an animal cracker to a buck with horns, hard horns? So anyway, it's a great experience, and we're people to our ranch.
Oh, that's super. That's good to know that you welcome people to the ranch, and you've got a great online store and you ship. And you're in the Tyler area, correct? Or Northeast Texas, I should say, right? Okay.
Yep, we're in Tyler, North Tyler. So certainly contact us if anybody wants to come out, and we'll get you set up and make sure you have a good experience.
Okay, cool, perfect. You're easy to find online. Wilson-wildlife.com, and there's a lot of good things going on. I really appreciate you. How else can people find you? Just by searching for Mike Wilson on Facebook, or how else do you want people to contact you?
Yeah. Our life has a Facebook page, Mike Wilson. It's under my name, but actually the Mike Wilson Facebook page is really the gear page. Sure. I run a private group, Deer and Gear is what it's called.
Oh, cool.
And so people can join our private group. We put specials there. I run specials that are just for our group members for products. Sometimes semen straws. We're going to do like possibly even like a fawn sale at some point in time. So you can do that. They can reach me at 903-546-5995 if you want to call, text, however you want. Send a smoke signal. Always we want to be convenient and help the customer in any way that we can.
That's cool. That's really cool to know. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Mike. I really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you. We appreciate your support, and hope you have a good one.
And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mike Wilson, Wilson Wildlife, Wilson Wildlife Gear. It's wilson-wildlife.com. I'm going to put all of his information and all of the website information in the show notes or on the blog post, so you can sit there and click on it and go directly to it, so you don't have to remember to write anything down. I try to do that as much as I can on these shows where I can remember it to write it down after I get done recording. So, but like I said, guys, there's a local company here that I work for. One of my clients that I do on my outdoor business stuff, I do. They carry all seasons feeders, and they carry a wide variety of other knives and all kinds of different stuff there. And I can just speak to the testament of how high quality some of the stuff that Mike Wilson carries on Wilson Wildlife Gear. The store, there's hog lights, there's barbecue pits, there's feeders, there's optics, there's survival gear, there's just a little bit of everything. Swag and engravings and stuff like that. So anyway, there's a lot to be said for a guy that puts his heart out there as far as putting his love for customer service and education out there as much as somebody like Dr. Mike does. And I just can't speak enough high recommendation about the RotoGuz, which is the water, the rainwater collecting system and the watering system for your deer. And just having a good water source out there, having a good healthy deer population, not just feeding corn but feeding protein as well, whether that be in block form or pellets or whatever the case may be through protein feeders. There's just a lot of different things that we talked about this show that you can kind of notate to your own deer hunting or any kind of wildlife hunting adventures. And that's one thing that I try to do. And for me, I come from a different part of the industry than a lot of typical media guys do, being that I buy and sell and trade, that I'm a deer trader, basically, that I buy and sell and trade exotics and other wild game species in the industry. And that's kind of a unique thing you get from your buddy Dustin here, because not everybody in media that you hear clamoring on a podcast has that kind of experience. But basically what I'm saying is there's a lot of opportunity out there. There's a lot of ranches that are stocking their ranches with high quality animals, and there are a lot of great hunting opportunities for good trophy animals for you to go hunt, and just meat animals. And get you an axis doe, get you a fallow spike, or a nice fallow buck, or a Sika buck, or an axis buck, or a nilgai, or a water buffalo. And there's one of the ranches that I'm connected with, DB Hunting Ranch here in Central Texas, has got some specials right now going on. You can head over to dbhunting.com to go check them out. dbhunting.com, and basically they just have a handful of things that I've been putting up on their website, of things that are on special: water buffalo, oryx. I'm trying to think what else went on the chopping block here lately, but there's a lot more that's coming down the pike too, and a lot of ranches are stocking up this time of year, which makes my life pretty busy because I'm always selling deer and stuff like that. Besides selling advertising and doing what I do for the magazine. But I mean, the neat thing about all of that is that it all is to benefit you guys that listen to this. It's all to benefit you guys that hunt and fish and do that. And that's one reason why I do as much as I do. Is it's a life of service. It's a life of profound service. Of gratitude and just helping kind of spread the message that get your kids outdoors. I finished a newsletter tonight before I turned the podcast microphone on to record these bumpers with Dr. Mike. And this was a newsletter I did for Striper Express, which is out of Lake Texoma, Texas-Oklahoma border lake. And the whole thing is the summer's almost gone. Take your kids fishing. That was our whole point of that newsletter. The fact that you've got your fathers and sons and mothers and daughters and all those kind of guys in the outdoors, this time of year is just so important. It's hot. I understand we went fishing back in June and it was miserable because there was no breeze. And I mean, it was just like hot as balls. It was like 105 degrees. And it was just crazy. But at the same time, I still got outside with my kids, or my one kid. I still got out there and still made some things happen and at least tried to put on a good outdoor adventure for my son on a guided trip. And, those times, what Bill was saying in his newsletter comments was, those times aren't always going to be there with your family, with your parents or with your kids or whatever the case may be. People grow older, they change. I mean, their interests change, their health changes, whatever the case may be. What I'm saying is capitalize on that now. If you have something to say to somebody, say it now. If you have something to experience with somebody, like I've been planning a trip for a long time with my dad and my father-in-law to go up to Lake Texoma with my son. I need to get that done. I need to get that done before the opportunity's not there to do it anymore. My son outgrows, wanted to spend time with his dad and turns into a teenager, or the case may be where my in-law or my dad are not able to go anymore. So I mean, it's just those kind of things. Seize the day is what I'm trying to say. Seize the day and have fun out there, and just the outdoors in Texas offer so much to do and beyond. I mean, the outdoors of anywhere. There's so much to do. There's shooting sports. There's hunting. There's fishing. There's camping. There's hiking. There's outdoor cooking. I mean, there's whole shows that are dedicated to outdoor cooking. So there's just a lot of different things that kind of round out everything that makes the outdoors such a great thing in God's creation, and we are to be creators and enjoy that creation while we're here. And I think that all comes with enjoying the meat, at the end, or the fish, that you cook at the end of your trip. There's just something that I try to do when I can't spend time in the outdoors, is I try to experience the outdoors through the bounties of the outdoors, if you will. My point here is that there's so much to experience. There's so many people in your life to experience that with. I just have one son, Jackson, and he's turning 10 next month. Actually, this month when this releases. He turns 10 on August 14th. So big happy birthday shout out to Jackson. And, just so much to be thankful for, having him in my life, and, having my dad still, having my father-in-law still, where we can go talk about hunting and fishing. And when we're not talking about it, we're doing hunting and fishing stuff. And, that's just, that's where my heart is just in those experiences with those that we love. And that's where I think, we should at least consider our heart being. It's not all about just a giant trophy 300-inch deer. It's about the grind to get there. It's about the experience to get there, like Dr. Mike and I were talking about. It's about the philosophy and the God's creation and the miracles that exist out there in nature, in the water, in the woods. There's just so much to be thankful and grateful for, guys. And that's kind of, I always try at the end of every one of these podcasts, as you guys know, if you've listened for a while, that's great. But if you're new, I always try to bring home our topic, whatever we talked about in the show, at the end of the show. and just give you some food for thought. Just give you something to chew on while you wait for the next show to come out in 2 more weeks. And next show I'll have out is the iCast show that I recorded solo in my hotel room at iCast, and I think you'll like that as well. Another fishing show after this hunting show. So also big shout out to a couple of sponsors I wanted to give some love to. Air Force Air Guns, hunting with air guns, big bore, small bore, target shooting with air guns is clean. It's fun. It's great to get kids involved in, and we're not talking about your little Red Ryder BB gun either. We're talking about big time, big bore air guns that can blow a hole through a car, with the slugs that they shoot, and then the pellets and the bullets that and the slugs that the small caliber air guns use. Air Force Air Guns, check those guys out. Check out Okuma Fishing. They've got a lot of stuff going on with what they've got. They've got a new bait category, and they've got a bunch of new innovations that they had at iCast this year. Also want to give a shout out to Wilson Wildlife, of course, Wilson Wildlife Gear. Again, wilson-wildlife.com. And then the Russ Game Place and Meat Market. They ran an ad with us back in August no, it was actually back in May, I think it was, for Father's Day. But anyway, the fantastic smoked meats and cheeses, guys. If you've not checked out the Russ Game Place and Meat Market and the Russ Meat Market and Wild Game Processing, for your game processing, there are new Brownfuls in Clear Springs, right across from Clear Springs Restaurant. I think I'm saying that right, or close. It's in Clear Springs, right there on 46, and New Brownfuls going towards Seguin. Really, really, really high quality smoked meats. You can order their product online, have it shipped anywhere else in the United States. I'll put a link to their stuff on the show notes. TheRussGamePlace.com. That's TheRussGamePlace.com. And you can check them out. They've got great smoked meats, smoked cheeses, specialty seasonings. Rust Dust is their specialty seasoning, and then smoked black pepper. And I use the smoked black pepper on my salad. I use it on just about everything. I absolutely love that smoked black pepper. It's actually black pepper that has a smoky flavor to it. It's incredible. So anyway, I had to give them a big shout out. And then let me think who else. DB Hunting Ranch. If you're looking at doing some hunting opportunities here as hunting season emerges here in the next couple of months. We kind of start our hunting season, I guess in August is typically when that gets started, and then September through October and that kind of stuff as we go into the colder months. Our exotic hunting season, which has no season really, but we call it a hunting season, is typically when they get really busy. And so give them a call. It's dbhunting.com. And just a shout out to everybody that's made this show possible. I appreciate you guys all that are listening, and just so much to be thankful for, guys. I've got a whole list of gratitude for what you guys do as far as listening and telling a friend and spreading the good word about the Best of the Outdoors podcast. And checking out our website, fishgame.com, if you've not done so already. As I say every show, check out our newsletters. They're 3 times a week. You get a Tuesday, Tactical Tuesday. You get a Wildlife Wednesday. And you get a Thursday, Texas State of the Outdoor Nation. Those are 3 weekly newsletters you get. You also have the Whitetail National, the Turkey National, the Hog Wild, wide variety of different specialty newsletters, Sharks and Surf, that kind of stuff coming out. And then some email blasts from some of our sponsors and partners that we work with. Awesome stuff. So just get on that mailing list. You'll get all that information. And then also check out our bookstore. We've got kayak books. We've got Texas Reds, which is a redfish book. We've got Saltwater Strategies. There's Chester Moore's Hog Wild, forward by Ted Nugent. A great book. I'm reading that right now, as a matter of fact. And a wide variety of other books, t-shirts. That's the other thing I keep forgetting on this dang podcast. Forgive me. Texas Fish and Game collaboration store with Frio Coolers. All right. You can check that out on our website at fishgame.com. Go to the store section and scroll down to the bottom, or just go to the drop down menu down at the bottom. Tons of stuff. Soft side coolers, t-shirts, or performance fishing shirts is what I'm trying to say. Drinkware, cups, 24/7s, all kinds of different Texas Fish and Game logoed stuff. So you've got things from drinkware to coolers to just a wide variety of different things you've got to check out. And I've got banners running on our website that I myself, yours truly, built for our internet site, for our website, and basically have those running too, so you can check out those web banners and click over and see the store itself, or you can check out fishgame.com and just go to the store category, and it'll have the TF&G Frio cooler store. So anyway, be sure to check that out. I will put a link to that in the description as well, just to go check it out and order some stuff from Frio. It really have some good stuff. So anyway, thank you guys so much for telling a friend. Thank you so much for spreading the good news about the Best of the Outdoors podcast, for sharing this show however you found us. Thank you so much for doing so. Have an awesome day in the outdoors. We'll see you next time.